There comes a moment in every life when noise stops working, when distractions no longer comfort you, when entertainment no longer numbs you, when being around people still feels lonely. That moment is not depression, it is awakening. It's the moment you realize that everything you used to hide behind has failed. The jokes, the validation, the routines, the endless movement, they don't reach you anymore. Because something inside you is asking for depth, not stimulation, not attention, not escape. Depth. And depth only comes from solitude. Most people fear being alone because they confuse silence with emptiness. But silence is not empty. It is honest. In silence, you feel the weight of your own existence, your unresolved thoughts, your buried emotions, your unspoken regrets, not as enemies, but as signals. Signals that you've been living on the surface. Solitude pulls you beneath that surface, not gently, not politely. It drags you into stillness and forces you to sit with yourself. This is where people break, not because solitude is cruel, but because it is real. It does not flatter, it does not distract, it does not lie. It shows you who you are when the world is gone. And that can feel terrifying. You start noticing how much of your identity was borrowed, from friends, from expectations, from roles you played to belong. In solitude, those roles collapse, and you're left asking, who am I when no one is watching? This question doesn't need an answer. It needs courage. Courage to stay when everything inside you wants to escape. Because escaping means returning to noise, and noise keeps you shallow. Solitude invites you to grow roots, not into comfort, into truth. Truth about what you tolerate, truth about what you avoid, truth about what you secretly want but are afraid to pursue. And once you see that truth, you cannot unsee it. You begin to feel distance between who you are and who you know you could be. That distance is painful, but it is also sacred. It means you still care. Solitude does not heal you, it reveals you. And in that revelation, you finally stop running. You stop pretending you're fine. You stop performing strength. You stop distracting yourself from becoming real. This is the beginning. There is a weight you only feel when everything finally stops. Not physical, not visible, but unmistakable. The weight of your own mind. When there is no sound to hide behind, your thoughts grow louder, not chaotic, honest. They remind you of what you avoided, what you delayed, what you pretended didn't matter. This is why people fear solitude, not because they hate being alone, but because they don't trust themselves with the truth. They fear what they might discover when no one is there to distract them. Solitude exposes patterns, where you escape, where you compromise, where you choose comfort over growth. It doesn't accuse, it simply shows. And once you see, you can't pretend you didn't. That awareness is heavy, but it is also power. Power to choose differently. You realize how much of your life has been shaped by fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being alone, fear of failing. And so you lived cautiously, quietly, small. Not because you wanted to, but because it felt safer. Solitude challenges that. It asks, what would you do if you weren't afraid? That question lingers. You start to feel grief, Not for what you lost, but for what you never became. The version of you that waited in possibility while you stayed comfortable. That grief is not weakness. It is awareness waking up. And awareness always hurts before it heals. Solitude teaches you patience, not with the world, with yourself. It shows you that growth is slow, quiet, unnoticed, but real. You stop rushing, you stop comparing, you stop needing to be anywhere but where you are. You become still, and in that stillness, you finally feel grounded. Not because life became lighter, but because you became deeper. This is the work no one sees, the transformation that happens in silence, the rebuilding that begins when the world fades. And it is worth everything.
If this message resonates with you,
Like and subscribe for more content like this. This channel is built for people who want control over their focus, not constant noise. Something changes when you stop running from yourself. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but deeply. You begin to trust your own presence. At first, silence felt heavy. Now it feels spacious. At first, solitude felt like absence. Now it feels like freedom. You start noticing how much energy you spent trying to be understood, trying to be chosen, trying to be approved, and you gently let it go. Not with anger, with acceptance. You realize something simple. You don't need permission to exist fully. You don't need applause to live honestly. You don't need validation to move forward. Your worth is no longer negotiated through other people. It becomes internal, stable, quiet. And in that quiet, you find courage. Not loud courage, not dramatic courage, the kind that wakes up and does the work without asking to be seen. You stop explaining yourself, not because you're bitter, but because you're grounded. You begin to choose intentionally who you allow near you, what you commit to, where you invest your time. Solitude taught you discernment. You no longer fill space just to feel alive. You create meaning instead. You understand now. Being alone is not emptiness. It is alignment. You are finally moving in the same direction as your values. This is where real peace begins. Not because life is perfect, but because you are present. Present with yourself. Present with your choices. Present with your becoming. The world will still be loud. Distractions will still exist. Opinions will still pull. But you will carry silence inside you. A place to return. A place to remember who you are. Solitude is no longer a season. It is a foundation. The quiet strength you stand on when everything else shifts. And now, you are no longer afraid to be alone. You are finally at home. Stay.